One of the best parts of being a website designer is getting on a phone with a new potential client and talking to them, discovering what they're looking to build, what they're looking to do, and why they chose me as a potential vendor to bring that to life for them. One of the most difficult, but also fun parts, in my opinion, of that conversation is going to be the money conversation. And in this video, we're gonna focus in on a way that you can grow so that you can get the most value from the client for the project and deliver something you're proud of. What's so interesting is that first conversation is disproportionately valuable to you and the client versus 99% of the other conversations you're gonna have with the client. I would say that conversation is significantly important, and we wanna make sure that we're maximizing our potential in every single call. And so in this video, I'm gonna walk through a few basic principles that you can use to ensure that you get the most value from the client before you even get started on the project and do even one bit of work. I do not try to convince a client to work with me. I believe the best way to convince anyone to work with you is by having confidence that you can get the job done. I don't try to go to the pizza shop and see if they have the skill set to make pizza by asking them questions. I go, I take a look, I see how confident they are, what their pizza looks like, all of that gives me the confidence to say, I'll take a slice of pizza. But when it comes down to being a website developer, we sometimes have this feeling that we have to convince the client to work with us. I think the way you convince the client to work with you is that you truly come to understand what their actual goal is. You want to come to a core understanding of why the website is going to be profitable for this business and their transaction, of why they're going to work with you and spend money on it. We don't spend money on stuff we don't think is worthwhile. Why do we believe this is worthwhile? And it really comes down to how many questions you're asking and what type of questions you're asking. Are you really coming to understand the goal of the website? Now, I have a questionnaire that will be linked down below that you can download for free. It's about 20 or so questions that I use on an intro call. I even have examples of calls I've done with clients that you could listen in on. And we have a whole community where anytime I do a call, I share it with them so that they can listen in and hear how I speak to a client. I consider myself not as the expert who's trying to convince you to work with me, but as an expert who is a guide who I will help you along this journey so that you take the best next step. And if it happens to be me, awesome. And if it doesn't, that's awesome as well. You're gonna find the best result for you and your business, whether we work together or not. So the first thing is you want to lead the conversation, and you lead the conversation by asking questions. And even if you're on a call with, say, 7 people from a team and they're really trying to vet you, I would spend most of the time asking questions, not in a dismissal way or in a weird way. I would just try to ask as many questions as possible to get an understanding of what they're trying to do. Who's in charge of the project? What's the goal? Are we clear on the goal? Is there some confusion within the team on what the goal is? I wouldn't ask that, but I would listen in to see what they're not saying or what is being said, or if people are countering each other, kind of where are we going with this project? And so understanding who's in charge of the conversation is step 1 to have a really good budget conversation. Step 2 is that you don't want to talk about budget until you have a very, very, very clear sense of what the website is. And this is also another mistake of, I think, beginning website designers is they talk about budget too soon because it's scary. You want to talk through all the details of the project. Make sure you have a clear sense of what they need. This may even include design. This may even include copywriting. So it's not just, I need a 5-page website. Do you have all the design elements you need? No. Okay, so let's talk about that. Do you want to work on that? Do you have someone in mind? Do you need my help for it? You want to have all that in mind before you start talking about dollars. In another video, which we could link down below, I talked through the 5 things that you need to consider when you're scoping a project and how I go through mentally all of those pieces as I'm having this conversation. So definitely check that video out. But You lead the conversation, then it takes you into this place of making sure you know exactly what they're looking for in terms of the scope of the project. But number three, it leads us here, which is you really want to know how to talk about budget. The first question I always ask, if you've ever watched other videos on the internet about this, is what is your budget for this project? This question can give you a lot of different answers, and from people who have hundreds of millions of dollars, I've had the answer of, I don't know, how much should I pay for this? And so the way this works is very interesting, but this is what I'm gonna really point to. I'm not gonna try to go through the practicals. There's a lot of people online who talk through that, but I would always say this for sure, ask before you tell. What is your budget for the project? You want to try to find out where they're at when they think about this project. And there are good questions that you could ask as follow-ups to really try to find out where they're at with this. But then when it comes down to telling them your price and how to get the most value, this is how I position it every single time, and it works wonders. It's literally magical. I never say, well, if we're gonna do this project, it's gonna cost you this much. I always say, hey, look, so Susie, if we were sitting down as friends at a coffee shop or having a meal, and this is what you were telling me, you know I'm a web developer, this is what you were telling me, this is what I would look for if I was hiring a developer. Then the core thing I go into with that client is all the deliverables that they're looking for that are important. Some of them they might not have mentioned. So for example, hey, you're trying to go into this capital venture world and you really need a website that's sophisticated. When you think about sophistication, one of the core elements here is gonna be UI, UX. The entire design experience of how the fonts sit together, how the graphics sit together, all of that is gonna matter a lot for your website. Most of that needs to be done by a professional designer. And so you're gonna need someone who knows how to execute that at the right tone, the right way throughout the whole website. And so I would look for someone who knows that. Then I would look for someone who knows how to get it done on the tool you're looking to use. And I just keep going in on the core elements of whatever they need for their website. By doing this, you're giving them the key indicators that they need to look for in the project. And at the same time, there's no trickery, there's no weirdness, but you're also that person. You also are gonna fill that role. So you're giving them all the details they need for the role. These are the 4 key things you need to actually look for. And then these are the 4 things that you offer as well. So I position, if I was in your shoes, this is what I would look for. Then I would say, I would estimate an investment, not a cost, an investment on a project like this to bring to life what you're looking to bring to life would cost between X and X dollars. Then I would say, if you were to work with me, it would probably be here. And I'll give you an example, actual numbers in a moment. But then I would give them a number that I think it would be if they worked with me specifically. Next thing I would do is I would say, you may be able to, and this is just dependent on the client or the situation, all that, you may be able to find it for cheaper, but I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna lose this, this, and this in the process. Because usually that's kind of the conversation someone's having in their mind is if they're looking for like the cheapest, they can't get something cheaper. Like you could go to Fiverr. You could literally go from $25,000 website to $5 website really fast on the internet. But you're gonna lose out on a lot of core other elements of this that are important. And so with that said, let's have a clear conversation. So let's do an example. Now we've asked the client, we've gone back and forth, and then I say, if I was in your shoes, I would charge anywhere between $8,000 to $12,000 for this website. And then I say, for us, we would probably charge around $10,000 for this. This gives me a middle ground. So I just said low, medium, and high now. And most of the time, psychology-wise, we choose the middle. So I literally just met them in the middle, perfect number there. Then from there, you could also find out more clarity on what they need. Now, you could play this game any way you want. So if you gave them a range of $8,000 to $10,000, or you just said it's gonna cost about $10,000, well, you could say, for us, we're gonna charge 15 because we're actually a premium agency and we're gonna take it to the next level for you. And you could pitch that way because sometimes that's literally what people want. They want the best in the world. So if that's who the client is and that's what they're looking for, well, you just position yourself so perfectly in that way. You could say, I would imagine it's gonna be about 8 to 12, but right now we're in this really unique time period for the company where we can actually execute it for you at the same level you want at 7. Do you see how you like position everything for them to, they came to you and said, I don't know how to budget for this. Then you take a step back and then you revert now to this new conversation where you say, well, this is what we can do for you, dependent on whatever that initial signpost was that you gave them. And this method here is how I feel I've been able to get the best value and the best budget out of every single client I work with to make sure we're on the same page and to make sure that it's even a project that I want to take on to begin with. Thank you for watching. If you got value from this video, hit the like button or subscribe and check out our links down below. We got a ton of free and amazing resources online that you can check out as well. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.